What's up, Cub fans? This latest interview with pitching coach Tommy Hotovy leads us to believe the Chicago Cubs have major upgrades coming this year. If you already weren't hyped for this season, this interview will have you pumped. Let's talk about it right after this. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. I am your host, Mike Jones. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys, to another episode. Make sure you do me a huge favor. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button. If this is your first time watching, please hit that subscribe button. If you are watching on Spotify or on Apple, please make sure that you guys hit the 5-star and leave a review. Also, guys, if you are a regular, please make sure you hit that like button. It does so much for the algorithms, does so much for the numbers. I appreciate you guys so much. Just a quick second just to hit that like button. And also, if you are intrigued by what I'm talking about or have something to say, join in on the conversation below. I appreciate you guys so much when you do that. Now, with that being said, the Chicago Cubs pitching coach, Tommy Hotovy, make no mistake about it, the Chicago Cubs were all about pitching all year long. I mean, we got Alex Bregman, and we're excited for what he's going to bring to the Chicago Cubs this season. If you've been watching the World Baseball Classic, you've seen what PCA is doing. You've seen what Seiya Suzuki is doing. You're seeing what these guys are doing and how great they look. However, make no mistake about it, pitching is going to be the main storyline of this season for the Chicago Cubs, at least going into it. Why? Because you have the additions of Edward Cabrera. You also have the comeback story of Shota Imanaga. You have Jameson Taillon trying to reclaim his spot. You also have Matthew Boyd trying to show last year wasn't a fluke. And then if not, to pile on top of all of that, you have the return of Justin Steele. But here's some intriguing storylines that come up, and that leads me to believe we have major additions ahead or major upgrades ahead when it comes to talking about our Chicago Cubs. I'm talking about the fact that Tommy Hotovy gave an interview on Friday morning where he met with the media, and he talked about a multitude of things, but 4 things that stuck out in particular. Number 1, Shota Imanaga's velocity upgrade. That's right. One of the more encouraging pieces of data to this point this spring has been the improvement in the velocity that Imanaga has displayed. Hotovy even noted that members of the Japanese media contingent in camp asked if Imanaga might be throwing his fastball too hard right now. And Tommy Hotovy just simply said, if I'm that player, the first thing you want to do is, if you work on something like that, is you want to go out and you want to test it. I want to see if it's there. It's almost like justification for all the work. We know Shota Imanaga needed to make some changes, guys. Point blank, period. He is a fan favorite of this current iteration of the Chicago Cubs. However, Shota Imanaga has to be better. He cannot afford to give up as many home runs as he has being a part of the Chicago Cubs team this season. So for Shota Imanaga, he has averaged a 92.8 mile per hour fastball this spring so far, from coming from StatCast. This comes after the left-hander averaged a 90.8 mile per hour in 25 and a 91.7 mile per hour in his standout rookie year in 24. So velocity obviously isn't something that Imanaga holds as his calling card, but it's clear that the pitcher's offseason work after an injury-marked 2025 is paying off. This man has went into the lab, and he told us he's going to go into the lab, and he was going to work this offseason to try to be better, especially after he lost the support of Craig Counsell clearly in the playoffs. Shota Imanaga wanted to pitch in that postseason, especially in that Milwaukee Brewers series. However, Craig Counsell could ill-advise to hand him the ball in the pivotal Game 5, and then the Chicago Cubs end up losing that game. No, instead, he gave the ball to Matthew Boyd again, and we all know what happened from there. So, again, Shota Imanaga is working his way back, trying to gain back his confidence, and he is trying to gain back the faith of the coaching staff and of his manager, Craig Counsell, who believe that Shota Imanaga will have a bounce back year this year. Craig Counsell's been very adamant about that. He has not shied away from talking about Shota or talking about the fact that he does believe he will have a bounce back season, which I really hope he does, because Shota Imanaga is legit one of my favorites. So Tommy Hotovy had this to say. First of all, it gives him a ton of confidence. What he felt at the end of the year last year was he just couldn't do what he was trying to do physically. So one big goal for him this offseason was just getting stronger, getting back to that lower body delivery that he knew he could get to. So Shota Imanaga went into this offseason with the idea of, I need to reclaim some of what I had in 2024. And the best way to do that is to work on my core as well as my lower body strength. Because like I said, he had a hamstring injury, he had a couple other injuries that kept him out pretty much at multiple spots during the season. When he did come back, he just did not look right. So very curious to see him being our number 4, number 5 guy. If Shota Imanaga is on, that's going to win us a lot of baseball games, him being number 4, number 5. So listen, stay tuned for more on Shota Imanaga. Now, number 2, we're going to talk about Edward Cabrera's fastball. So there are no secrets when it comes to Cabrera's signature changeup. He throws it hard, and he is going to throw it a lot. What the Cubs are trying to learn this spring is when and how he can better utilize his high-octane fastball, which helps the changeup's effectiveness. So if you guys don't know, you usually set up that changeup with using the fastball. So if he has a fastball pitch that is unhittable, which we'll actually kind of talk about that a little bit with Ben Brown too. But if he has a changeup and a fastball that's unhittable, he could find himself in some very elite conversations this season. So with him working on his changeup with him working on his fastball's effectiveness, is going to help with the changeup. So that explains why Cabrera has thrown his four seam 33% of the time so far this spring, only slightly less than the changeup. So the righty really only used that fastball pitch 13% of the time during the 25 season, reducing his use from 27.7% in 2024. So again, Cabrera is new to the Chicago Cubs and their rotation. Tommy Hotovy wants to see how everything looks and works before diving too deep into usage strategies for the year ahead. He said, we can all sit and analyze usage in the past, pitches that got hit, pitches that played, all those things. I want to see it with my own eyes. I want to see how they play off each other. If there's opportunities for us to help him play up the fastball by using it in certain situations or following certain sequences, then I want to try to help him find that. So Edward Cabrera is going to be a huge piece of what the Chicago Cubs do this season, maybe one of the biggest pieces. Like I said, he was a huge addition, and we traded Owen Casey for him. So when it comes to Edward Cabrera, we are expecting him to come into this season and to dominate. Make no mistake about it. Edward Cabrera needs to come into this season and he needs to win baseball games for the Chicago Cubs. I would like to see him hit, hopefully, that 20-win mark for the Chicago Cubs this season. He has the infield and the outfield, the defense behind him to help him do so. As long as he keep the ball in the park and not get hit super hard, it should be attainable for him. So this next guy I'm going to talk about, I have been round and round and round and round about. So you guys all know Cody Delmundo I had on the show, a couple of weeks ago. He loves Ben Brown. He's talked about Ben Brown. He still has faith in Ben Brown. Well, it comes to find out Cody ain't the only one that has faith in Ben Brown. So Brown is building up as a starting pitcher, but the Cubs also know he can be a possible fit as a multi-inning weapon out of the bullpen. So as a righty, he leans on a high-velocity fastball and curveball, but has worked on developing a changeup in recent years. So this spring, Brown has also been showing off a new sinker in an effort to further expand his arsenal. So Tommy Hotovy had this to say about it. He said the development of the sinker has been outstanding. That and the changeup, I've really been happy with how both of those have come along. We've seen more of the sinker because he's faced more righties too. and we saw him feature it in the spring outing against the Royals too. It was a pitch he really wanted to go into that game honing in on, and so it's been good for him. So again, Ben Brown is one of those guys. He is an outlier for the Chicago Cubs. He is somebody that can be a cherry on top if Ben Brown has his stuff right and is on. Ben Brown, with the latest developments that's come with Jordan Wicks and come with Porter Hodge, more than likely will claim a spot in the bullpen to start the season this year. However, Ben Brown will need to pitch his ass off in order to keep that position this year. So again, Ben Brown, and he could get a couple spot starts off of it. Him and Colin Ray, depending on what matchups look like and who the team and Craig Counsell believe he can go out and dominate against. You could see Ben Brown in some spot starts also. So again, it's just one of those things where we want to see the kid really continue to develop. He took last year personal. He felt really bad about how last year went for him as a Chicago Cub, and he is looking to rectify that expeditiously this season. Make no mistake about it. So we are going to see the very, very best of Ben Brown this season, I believe. So, and last but not least, y'all, I know that it was mentioned on Sunday that Jordan Wicks and Porter Hodge will both start the season on the IL, which comes at a very, very bad time when all we've been talking about is Chicago Cubs being able to have pitching depth. It sucks that Jordan Wicks starts unhealthy, as well does Porter Hodge. One has inflammation and the other one has soreness, but they both will start on the injured list to come start this season. It's very, very unfortunate, especially for Porter Hodge, because he is number 4 on our list of who we want to talk about. So Hodge came into camp as a comeback candidate for the Chicago Cubs bullpen, having been a standout late inning arm as a rookie 2 seasons ago, an issue that came up last year, one that impacted by injury setbacks, was trouble with the command. But through 3 Cactus League outings, Hodge has walked 7 and struck out 5 in 2 innings, giving up 7 runs in the process. He says, Tommy Hottovy had this to say: this offseason, I thought he did a great job of just getting back to a clean, athletic delivery and just ripping his fastball over the plate and let the slider work off of that. We saw it in the live BPs. He had a 75 to 80% strike rate, and then the game happens and you kind of get back in those bad habits. So for Porter, to me, I love the work he puts in, and our guys work their tails off when they're on the mound. You've got to go out there and trust that it's going to just be there. So not really necessarily a good statement for Porter on this one, but the expectation is that Porter Hodge will reclaim his command. If he can reclaim his command once he comes off the IL, he is absolutely somebody that the Chicago Cubs will be dependent on. If he can get back to how he was 2 years ago, Porter Hodge was somebody that was definitely in the tree of trust of Craig Counsell. And again, he is somebody that Chicago Cubs are going to need. So for him, it's going to be important that he get his act together and that he come back strong once he gets off the IL. I feel really bad for him and Jordan Wicks. I feel like both those guys have caught such a bad rep with the Chicago Cub faithful, just because they just haven't been able to stay healthy. And then when they are healthy, they're giving up runs because, like I said, their timing is off. They've spent a lot of time on the IL. So it's unfortunate, but it looks like these are issues that these guys have faced multiple times. We'll just see. We'll see what happens from there. But I want to know from you guys, out of these 4 stories, what is the most intriguing to you? Is it the fact of Ben Brown and his reclamation project with adding that new pitch? Is it or is it Edward Cabrera with his fastball? Is it Shota Imanaga with his fastball? Or could it be the fact that Porter Hodge is trying to have a comeback year for the Chicago Cubs, but he needs to figure out his command issues? I want to know from you guys below your thoughts on all these topics. I appreciate you guys so much. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. And make sure that you join Chicago Cubs Central Facebook group also. I appreciate everybody that has done so. And until next time, y'all, go Cubs, go. Peace.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.